Jeff has agreed to talk about his loose top 10 favorite jazz drumming records. What you got, man?
All right, so I didn't quite get the memo, even though you did say it. So we just pulled a bunch of things out. It's not necessarily, but I think it's more important to talk just about drumming and drummers that influenced me. So, to me, kind of got started with Joe Jones. I've got a lot of Basie records with Joe Jones on it, but this is kind of, for anybody who doesn't have any Basie records, you should check this out. This is essential early Basie, that there's not a bad, it's a twofer.
What's the title of the record?
Super Chiefs. There's not a bad cut on here. Teddy Wilson. I mean, it's got everybody on this thing. This is an amazing record. Everybody should own this record. Even if it's the only Basie record you actually own. This is the one they actually have. And I don't know, it should be cheap. Yes, it's worth it. I was a rock drummer. Taught myself. And at that time, the two drumming gods were Keith Moon and Ginger Baker. Big sets, really powerful. I mean, Baker had way more finesse than Moon did. But Moon had that raw energy that it was like being hit by a freight train. And they both were just brilliant. And so, of course, I had to have a double set, had to have 100 cymbals. Did it all. It was all mishmash because I had no money. So it's like, Montgomery Ward bass drum with some old pearls that I got. I mean, it was all a big mix of stuff. So then, this is now later 60s. I think it was 68 or 69, Wouldn't heard Ella Fitzgerald play. And so it was Ella Fitzgerald with the Tommy Flanagan Trio. Wow. Right? And the Tommy Flanagan Trio was obviously Tommy Flanagan, Ray Brown on bass, and Ed Thigpen on drums.
Where'd you see them at?
At Kleinhand's Music Hall in Buffalo.
Wow.
So me and my 2 or 3 other friends were the only hippies there. Everybody else was tuxedos. I mean, it was a big event. It was, so we were really out of place. And Ella was amazing. But what was more amazing for me was Ed Thigpen. So, once again, to use your expression about playing in the pocket, nobody played more in the pocket than Ed Thigpen.
Huh.
And I sat there and watched him that whole night and just was like, why do I need all these drums? Why do I need all these cymbals? This guy had a simple Ludwig set. 2 cymbals, ride, sock, and, just snare, bass tom, bass drum, floor tom. After that, I got rid of all the other drums, and I went down to, just distilled it down to my 1953 Ludwigs that I had.
What color were they?
Pearl white.
Beautiful.
That turned yellow, green, black. Actually, they're here. They're back there.
Wow.
Yeah, they went through Sandy, so they're kind of a mall player. I actually traded my alto saxophone for them. One, and I then bought, at that time, the top of the line Ludwig snare drum, the all chrome one, not the little pancake one, but the medium, the depth one. I forgot which model it was called. But I listened to a lot of snare drums, and that one was just like gold. I mean, it was just, because the snare is everything anyway, face it, come on. And to really play, it's all about what you do with that snare. Everything else is in support of that snare drum, right? So anyway, Ed Thigpen, who was on this record, which is a great Oscar Peterson record. It's all live stuff. Well, I actually saw this band too. So I should have pulled out an Ella, but I didn't. But Ed Thigpen totally changed my conception of drumming. And I can't thank him enough. But to tie in a little rock to this, that's what Mitch Mitchell did. he, to me, was the bridge between jazz and rock. And probably up there with the greatest drummers of all times. Not a rock drummer. I know this seems almost like cliche at this point. I don't know how many people really understand this record to start with.
What do you mean?
Well, first off, it's a Bill Evans record, not a Miles Davis album.
How so?
Bill Evans actually wrote all the songs.
Really?
Yeah.
All the songs?
Except for Freddie the Freeload.
I thought he just wrote Blue and Green.
Apparently he wrote them all. And apparently it was a loose jam.
Huh.
And he had the concepts for them all, brought everybody in the studio. This was the story I was told. And it was recorded at night. Most of it's one take, with Evans just going through it, and then everybody vamping off of it and improvising. But Blue Green was the only song he brought in that was actually a song.
That song.
Everybody got credit for the rest of it.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this is true or not, but I've heard that from quite a few people.
How?
So I bought this record when I was 12 years old. Right. This is the first jazz record I ever bought. And once again, I bought it because that I told you I'd heard that Miles cut, my dad's records that just always stayed with me. And then I saw this album at my local record store, and I go, oh, I should just buy a whole record of this guy's and see what it's like. Well, this is the record I bought. And
so is that can you pull the record out?
I'll make this. Well, this is in the
70s. Yeah. Okay.
No, this is the copy. I pulled the wrong one.
Oh,
It was a, you know where it is? It's over there.
probably 2i or something. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a 2i model. Anyway, so that would have been 68, maybe? Something like that. I bought it. 67, 68. This record's in the wrong jack. That's why. I have probably 10 different versions of this record.
What do you think of Jimmy Cobb on that record?
That's where I'm going.
Okay.
One of the greatest drummers of all times. So, at any of these Miles records, you listen to Jimmy Cobb. He's sophisticated, somewhat elegant, but he's on fire. And he's always pushing the band. He doesn't sit back like Elvin pulls you back. Jimmy's pushing you forward. And I guarantee Tony Williams listened to Jimmy Cobb. With that, just like always being ahead of me, always being ahead. Williams just took a way out. But Jimmy Cobb I sit there and I listen to these records, and it's just like, you just can't help but focus on what he is doing, because this, I think, is a real key role of the drummer. It's that, once again, you're the orchestra. You're bringing it all together, that band. You don't have to be out front. You don't have to be flashy. You just got to put everything together, make sure everybody's in the right spot, coming in at the right time, hitting the right, grooves, whatever it is. Jimmy Cobb really knew how to do that. What a great listening drummer. Besides, like I said, just being just a dynamo. This is incredible. Listening to Jimmy live, any of the live Miles, and listening to what he's doing, it's just incredible. Another record I bought back then was this. And Paul Motian. This record also just really influenced the way I play. First, I want to say the telepathy between him and Bill Evans is remarkable, because it's really the same musician. It's almost like the same guy's doing both things.
Huh.
And that's just back to Mitch Mitchell. That's what Mitch Mitchell did with Hendrix. And to me, that's a real key of a drummer, is be able to be so in, you're almost not there. Anyway, but just his looseness and his openness, and just the way he can just be melodic as a drummer, but at the same time, just blow it all apart, just free every note. That's the key, I think, of what he does on this record. Is just gives this record so much air and space and presence, and tension, ease, love. And it's just phenomenal what Paul Motian does on this record. Then taking it to the extreme, I saw this concert. They were so, once again, entwined. They were not two separate people playing. And it was so great. And I got to talk to them and all that. And they were both super sweet guys, super appreciative. And just the way that they created their own universe. And that's, that's really important to be an artist and to be able to step out of the everyday, create something totally new and fresh. That's what this record is. That's what these guys, I think, always did, or at least that's what they strived for, both of these musicians. Paul Motian then going through to the ECM records, which most of those were on CD only, but like the record sound, beautiful, all the percussion and the bells and all that kind of stuff. He just blows me away. I just think he's one of the great musicians, not even drummers there ever was.
Yeah, I just don't understand the latter period stuff. I just don't understand it. The whole, he's still obviously swinging really hard, but the whole child in the sandbox bashing the toms, I never quite got it.
I think a lot of it, are you talking about the stuff when he was doing the Thelonious Monk stuff and everything?
I'm talking more about the trio stuff on ECM with Lovano and Frizzell.
Yeah, but he did those. There's the two all Monk music bargains.
I love that record. Monk in Motion, I love that record. Okay, that's different.
But I think, once again, he was trying to create this whole new soundscape. Because think about what Lovano's playing. Very different from what he usually played. Kind of steps back from the melody a lot and kind of goes into more of dynamics and accents and stuff like that. Frizzell is just doing the Frizzell thing.
Right.
Where he's not. There are obviously there's a lot of melody, there's a lot of tenderness, there's a lot of inside playing on those too, but they're both kind of like blowing it up. It's kind of like they're blowing it up from the inside out. So Frizzell's doing those kind of like his little, once again, all comes from, as far as I'm concerned, Thelonious Monk anyway. Those little kind of sounds that just seem to come out of nowhere, but then somehow all make sense. Now we're going to go to this, because this has got three of the greatest drummers ever on it. So this is my original copy that I bought when it came out. Maybe the greatest Miles Davis record. Maybe the greatest, in the top 5 greatest jazz records. But you've got Jack DeJohnette and Billy Cobham on this record. Right there, as a drummer, this wins everything, right? But just phenomenal music. Like I said, this record's been with me since 1970 when it came out. This is my original copy. The Mosaic box set up there with all the complete is even better because it's complete. There's not a bad cut on it. Art Blakey's just a powerhouse. He's just a force in nature, just that simple. This record and 2 other of these Blue Note Art Blakey albums, I had no idea who he was. It's like maybe 1969 or so. I was with my mother. We're in some mall, shopping center somewhere. I think it was like a J.C. Penney's, and there were some records. So I was going through them. And I found these 3 Blakey records for $1 a piece. Blue Notes, I thought, for $1 a piece, I don't know who he is. Well, let's try him. Well, this is one of the great drumming records of all time anyway. Just the sheer force and balls to the wall. Obviously, this band, Lee Morgan, Curtis Fuller, Wayne Shorter, Cedar Wald, Reggie Workland. Come on. This is one of the greatest bands of all times. And I know you had just said the thing about how Lee is like sweeter, more melodic than Freddie Hubbard, where Freddie Hubbard was. I prefer the Lee Morgan stuff, even though I think Freddie's great. No doubt about it. But Lee Morgan is one of my favorite musicians. And this record's just great. So I pulled this out. It could pull out any Coltrane album, Elvin Jones. Listening to this whole thing, the live thing, but listening to him live and just being able to not improvise, but, live recordings are always the best anyway, I think. And because you really get to hear, musicians just be able to just pivot, play something fresh, play something new, and so Elvin and Coltrane, once again, that telepathy, and they just are yin and yang with each other. And I just love it. But Elvin made all those great records of his own. I've got quite a few of those. Billy Combo. I saw the second concert they ever played live.
Where was that?
State University College at Cortland.
Huh.
So they were the opening act for Blue Oyster Cult and the Birds. And needless to say, it just changed everything. And I was just transfixed by Combo.
There was nothing like that when he came out. Nothing. Incredible.
So even though he's on Bitches Brew, and I knew who he was, nothing like this.
Yeah, totally free reign.
Yeah. Okay. All right. In the same vein as we were talking about with Bitches Brew and Intermounting Flame, you have this. And I bought this record when it came out. This is my original copy. And the idea of the band being Tony Williams, Jack Bruce, John McLaughlin, and Larry Young is just mind-boggling. But this is I think it's one of the greatest records ever made. And
why do you think that?
Because it had such an effect on me. All right. And so it was this idea of, it was a new way of listening to jazz. It was a new way of listening to rock. But I don't really call it fusion. It was its own thing. And this record sounds as fresh today as it did, I think, when it came out. I listen to this record all the time, and I've never been bored with this record.
How would you compare that to the first Tony Williams lifetime? With Earl Offrennings and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. This is way more intense. Way more intense. I've got that's here too. Here we got it as a twofer. In Europe, they came out as two single albums.
Huh.
But I have my twofer here. And that, once again, it's brilliant, but it lacks the intensity that this has. And that's still an intense record. This is over the top. So, you did the thing on Tony Williams, and I have to agree with most of what you said. He got more and more rock-oriented, but on his records. But he did that Herbie record with Ron Carter.
He's on a bunch of straight-ahead trio stuff, even when he's playing the more open single strokes. Oh, right.
This is my doctor.
Pull that over.
So, as rocky or as he got on his own stuff, not all of it was successful by any means. He could turn around and do a record like this with, more or less the Miles Davis quintet without Wayne and Miles, and just go back so easily into that pocket that he was in with that whole frame of mind, but then still be fresh. You're going to have Herbie. We got this. So he did all these records pre-Headhunters. I hated Headhunters. I saw the first tour of Headhunters, and I enjoyed the tour, but I didn't like the records. because the first Headhunters tour wasn't all stupid. He actually played real music too. And it was a great band. It's just, they just went stupid with playing that stupid keyboard thing and the dumb outfits they were wearing. But this band I saw, once again, it's another one of these pivotal moments that just kind of blew my mind. You know, he had Patrick Gleason there with this giant moat thing with the big patch cords on the stage. And, you know, Billy Hart. I mean, come on. I mean, talk about great drummer. And, I mean, this was just a great show. And this is one of my favorite records. One of the ways I really appreciate drummers is when they play in trios. I think that, in a weird way, is the greatest showcase for a drummer, is a trio. It's Hampton Hawes. This has got Michael Carvin on it.
It's interesting.
Great drummer. But these two records he did, live at the Montemarte, there's this one and the black one that Dexter Orden sits in on. And just amazing live records. But once again, just Carvin's on fire. Plays so beautifully with Hampton. Anyway, it's just a drummer's delight. I pointed this out earlier, and Frank Gant is just killer on this record. Just his touch and his just sensitivity to the whole thing. Plus, you know, it's a Jamal, so it's constantly changing rhythms. It's constantly changing tempos. It's, you know, it's complicated music set out not to be complicated. And I think, you know, any of Ahmad Jamal's drummers have to really know their shit to keep up with him. And anyway, I don't know why Ahmad Jamal seems to not get the due he deserves.
I don't know. I think I know in my jazz vinyl lovers group, people post a lot of his records. And that was recently reissued by that horrible Third Man, you know, Jack White's label. They did really bad work, but it got reissued, and then all of those, you have the one there. Yeah. Because those Feldman records, those are very popular.
Yeah, I've got all those.
Those are hard to get a hold of now. Yeah. So it's reasonably well.
Okay, good. You know, I saw this. Betty Carter at the bottom line. Kenny Washington.
Kenny's on that record?
I think he is.
Oh, wow. That's really young Kenny Washington.
Yeah. Wow. I love Betty Carter. I loved her when she did the thing with Ray Charles. I bought that way back in the day. But seeing this group, seeing the trio, she had such a big personality.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a marvelous voice. Stage presence, like, unbelievable. And she knew how to engage with the audience. She loved being there. She loved you being there. But listening to Kenny Washington, it was a revelation. I mean, he just was like, he was young, did everything he was supposed to do, but then added this whole other dimension, just the performance. Just really, really, this is a special record. Kenny Washington, really, it's really a master class in drumming. The other person I got into really early on might have been the second or third jazz record I ever bought, Ben Martino's Desperado. This is a live record. Todd Muse, 72. Sherman Ferguson. What a powerhouse. And this is, to me, one of the greatest live records ever made. And just listening to Ferguson on this record, once again, just another master class of how a drummer is supposed to play with a band. It's just exciting to listen to, you know, and especially a live recording, that's one of the things you want to do. It's exciting, you know, and anyway, it's just really, really, it's a great record, great drumming.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Very good.
All right. Well, thank you, Cobb. Hope I got some up what you wanted.